What you're about to hear is an interview with Hannah Beck. She is a German mountain bike eliminator rider. She's also amazingly friendly and someone I would very much consider a friend. I'm so glad I get to talk to her. There is also upcoming a German um, version of an interview. It's not going to be the same questions, obviously. So it's a bit different. You get to learn a bit more about her and her history in that one. This one is more focused on her season so far, how she's feeling about Worlds. We do drop a bit of her history in there, so it's not all entirely just you have to know her in advance. Hopefully this will give you insight into her and you can really get to know the amazing person that she is. Check it out. Check out the worlds when they're actually live streaming on YouTube. Should be in about just over a week's time as you listen to this. Um, and yeah, otherwise, like, comment, share everything that's good. Please help boost this because this is a really important interview for me. And Hannah's an amazing, amazing human. And I just want more people to know about what a great rider she is and what a great person she is. Hi, Hannah. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. As we're speaking, it's Worlds is just over a week away. Um,
Yes.
And yeah, let's start talking about that. How are you feeling about firstly traveling to Indonesia? It's a fair distance away. And secondly, the whole world's situation.
Yeah, of course, it's a long travel, but I did it already last year, so it's not that new to me. I'm already used to it a little bit, so that's all right. And yeah, I'm definitely already very excited. I can't wait for it, and yeah, can't wait to see how everything goes.
Yeah, I guess yeah, like are there many going from the German team? I assume people like Simon Gegenheimer and Marion Fromberger are going. Who should, well, yeah, who's going and who should we be looking out for as fans?
Yeah, well, just looking at the German team, I think definitely everybody from the German team is someone to look out for. Yeah, I have some very, very strong German fellows. So for sure in the women's category with Marion Fromberger, she's one of the big favorites. She had a really strong season so far, and she's just overall a great rider. So definitely should look out for her. And yeah, in the men's category with Felix Klausmann, he already won some World Cups with Simon Gegenheimer, and yeah, also with Niels. There are some riders with a very big potential. So I think for me as a young rider, it's great to have such a strong team around me. So just a lot of people to learn from.
Yeah, and speaking of, I know you've been training with Marion at times. Like, what's that feel like to train with someone who's, the German champion and like won several World Cups? It's like any World Cup you look at, it's either her or Gaia Tolmena who's, winning. And yeah, what's it like to train with her?
Yeah, so first of all, she's a very good friend of mine, so it's just always very fun. We have great talks together, and yeah, we just enjoy spending time together. But yeah, second of all, it's always nice to be training with someone more experienced. She definitely has some great advice for me, and it's always nice to learn from her and to see how she's doing things. And yeah, we just always have a great time. So I really do like it a lot.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, like for me, just the world of mountain bike eliminator, it's very friendly. Um, for instance, last year, Didi de Vries and Marcela Matos were, third and fourth overall. Um, but one of them broke their bike and the other just was like, "Oh, use my spare." And they were helping. Like in other categories and other disciplines, people would go, "Oh, unlucky. I guess I'll be third then. Oh well." And likewise, Marion gave you her spare bike. Was that at Indonesia last year?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
how's it going to be to actually race on your proper bike and your bike rather than someone else's.
Well, of course, it's always nice to have your own bike, just the setting and everything, you're used to it. But it's always nice that everybody is so friendly and supportive. So I always know that if I have a problem, there are a lot of people I can talk to, a lot of people that will help me out, and that's always something good to know.
Yeah, and is it easy to open up to, you know, people who are technically competitors? Is it, easy to go to them, oh yeah, I've got this problem. Like with a bike problem, I assume it's fairly easy, but if it's, something that's affecting you that's not bike related, is that easy to open up, or who do you have that you can open up to in those scenarios?
Well, I think yeah, two things. First of all, I do have a mental health coach, so for me, it's easy to open up to her and talk to her.
Hmm.
But it's actually also nice to open up to the other riders because they're in the same situation and they most often can relate to your problems a lot. So if there's an issue or if you are struggling, they often can relate and they often have very good advice. So yeah, that's actually something I do when I feel nervous or something, or when I have concerns. I talk to some of the other riders and they do that as well. So it's just a great support system.
Yeah, it sounds like there's as we said, like it's very friendly. There's a lot of camaraderie, and I really love that element to Eliminator. Um, but yeah, for people who are kind of new to the world of Eliminator, what is it? How does it work? Like, yeah, what are the tiny details we should be looking out for?
Yes, so I think there are a few main things to look at, but for sure, just for the people that don't know Eliminator yet, competition day starts with the time trial. So we have a qualification. For the women, it's the first 16 riders that qualify. So yeah, you have to have one of the fastest 16 qualifying times. And then afterwards, we have the heats. It's always four riders against each other, and the first two make it to the next round. Um, yeah, so always very exciting to watch. And I think that's the two main things and how to explain it on a very simple way.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And just to go one step further, like when you get to the semi-finals, if you're the bottom two, you still make it to the fifth through to eighth final, like what they call the small final.
Yes.
Um, and then if you're in the top two, then you go through to big final. So if you make it through that first round as a women's rider, you're guaranteed another two races. Um,
Yes.
barring incident or accident. Um, because that can happen, and we have seen some spectacular crashes this year. For an example, at Arlen, with Annemoen van Dienst, who's been outstanding and usually makes the one of the finals. But I can't remember the obstacle, but I know there's a jump involved, and she did a whole like front flip somersault, and you know, you yourself have had crashes. You don't need reminding, but people at home won't know this. That one wasn't televised. I don't know. I think it's possibly a good thing, um, because I don't think I'd like to have seen that myself. Um, but what happened? Because that was at Loiva, which was the second round of the World Cup.
Yes, yeah, so in eliminator racing, you always try to be on the limit and yeah, be as fast as possible. And sometimes you, well, risk it maybe a little bit too much. And that's exactly what happened in Leuven for me. I risked it too much and I crashed. Yeah, it was a mistake I did. It was completely my fault, and I had a nasty crash. It was not so nice for me. I was just very unlucky and I injured myself afterwards. But yeah, I made my way back. I'm healthy again. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of wild because that was in qualification, and I think if my memory's any good, there was about 21 races that day. If it's something like 18 or 21. So most people are guaranteed safe passage to the rounds. But even like, why is it important to qualify as high as you can? And even to take those risks if you're fairly certain you're going to qualify anyway.
So you get some points for the overall. That's always yeah, interesting to have for sure,
Hmm.
especially for the top athletes. It's really important to get those points for the overall. And also, the rider with the lowest number is allowed to choose their starting position. So if you have qualification time, which is a bit further down, yeah, you can't choose. And sometimes it's definitely an advantage if you can choose your starting position.
I didn't even realize that part because, like, the way I've been watching, I've realized that, if you qualify first, then the two of, like, one of the other people will be number 16, the slowest qualifier. So theoretically, it's easier to qualify if you're the fastest. Um, but I didn't know you get to pick your lane, like your starting lane, because everyone's held up, and you start on the bike, but in a particular lane. I had no idea that you get to choose. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
Uh,
and
Um,
of course, if you have a good qualifying time, you're more likely to start against people that were had a much slower qualifying time. So that's also, of course, a good thing to have.
yeah, of course. Um, so yeah, and obviously we've seen that he even like a couple of seconds or less than a second can make a difference in, for example, I can't remember the previous round, which was really bad. The one before Barcelona. Um,
Udenade?
yes, that's the one. Thank you. In Udenada, like there was a crash which took out two of the good qualifiers. Um,
Yeah.
and if you qualified 13th, you would have been against them, and if you qualified 14th, you would be in a completely different heat and not get that luck. Um, do you see the Eliminator is like how much of Eliminator is skill and power, and how much like is it very reliant on luck at times?
Um, of course, sometimes it's good to have luck for sure, but I think it's just the same as in every other discipline. You
Hmm.
have to be lucky sometimes, but I think Eliminator is like a very intense discipline. There's no room for mistakes, so I think you definitely need to be very skilled, talented, and you need to be able to perform on point. And if you do a mistake, there's no time to even it out. So I think you definitely need a very, very big skill set for that. And yeah, it is what it is. Sometimes, of course, you can have luck and get through, but most of the time, it's just relying on your skills and your own power.
Yeah, and what are the other skills that you need? Like, I assume technical skills because, you know, as you said, you can't make a mistake really. Any mistake is fatal for your chances in a race. But I assume there's other skills that you need to have and other
Yes.
characteristics. So, yeah, talk me through them.
Yeah, of course, you need to have a good shape, you need to be in shape, but also like a very big part of eliminator racing is your mental health. You need to be very strong psychologically. You need to be very confident and you need to feel well with yourself. That can make a huge difference. And yeah, it's definitely important to not forget about that part. But also, a big part of eliminator racing is overtaking. So you need to be very smart and intelligent, and you need to be very tactical. So the tactical racing is definitely, yes, a thing that often decides in the end. So sometimes you can be the stronger one, but you don't have the right tactic and you're out.
Yeah, and it's kind of like it's also interesting how different courses suit different riders.
Yeah.
And different characteristics. Like Sakuraya earlier in the year it wasn't a great place for overtaking. I know Marion and Gaia found that out to their peril. They had a bit of a coming together in their final, and then you then move to Loiva, and there was huge overtakes happening. Like on is it stairs? I don't even know. Like the sort of rise up to the finish, loads of people were leaving it late, and I can't even remember the person, which is really bad. But like, I want to say as a Belgian rider, um, it just every time would be second or third wheel, and then time is run up those stairs and just blast past everyone and win or qualify. And it's like I've seen it happen in every round. I was like, well, I know he's going to do that in the final. I think he did. I think he came second, but I could be wrong. Um, what sort of courses suit you, or what do you look for in a course?
Um, yeah, I'm still finding out what I like the best and what suits me, but for sure I think the track in Barcelona is one of my favorites so far. I'm really good at starting. I really like starting very fast, so that would have been a track for me. But yeah, sadly I didn't make it to the heats. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of yeah, it is a nice track. Is the one they used for Worlds last year. I believe that's still on YouTube. If anyone wants to watch them as sort of pre-Worlds entertainment, there you go. There's a good chance and see what it's all about. I will put a link to that in the show notes. Um, but yeah, as you said, like there's some race, I guess, with being so young, even though you've got such a history in the sport already at like 19, you've got what, 10, 11 years of cycling, which is mad to me. Um, but you're still learning at this level and, taking your advice from whoever you can, I assume. Um, but how is it when you do sort of would you call it track recon? Like, what are you looking out for? Do you go, okay, this is going to be an obstacle, this will be where I struggle? Or, do you plan out how you would race it versus how you would ride it for qualifying? Like, yeah, what's your process, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, so most of the time, we don't have much time to look at the tracks. So sometimes it's just 30 minutes. So
Wow.
it's also sometimes it can be a bit stressful, and of course, it puts you under pressure sometimes as well. The things I look out for is, of course, line choice. It's really important, and sometimes there are a bit, yeah, a few differences in the line choice. Sometimes you take another line during the time trial than you would do during the heat. And yeah, of course, you always look at the places where is it good to overtake, where can I overtake, where do I have to be in the front of the race, where is it all right if I am on second or third position. And yeah, you always try out the obstacles. It's really important to try out the obstacles with your race speed because, well, if you don't do it, you often be you often can get very surprised on your speed during the time trial, and then yeah, mistakes can happen very easily. So it's always important to also test out the obstacles under your race speed and try them out on how fast you can yeah, conquer them. Yeah, so that's the things I look out for. Line choice, where can I overtake? How fast can I go? Where's the limit? Testing out the limit. Yeah, just that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I find that really interesting because it's not something I've kind of well, it's not something I've ever had to do. But it's also not something I've ever thought of before. And certainly um one of those reasons is because I'm from the UK. It's not a very well-known sport here. I think actually at Barcelona was the first time I've ever seen a British person on the start list, um, which I find is so wild. Um, is it a big sport in Germany, or like how did you end up becoming an Eliminator rider?
So I became an Eliminator rider through my team. They asked me if I want to join them, and they made a suggestion for me to try out Eliminator because they always saw my starts at the cross country races, and they thought, yeah, maybe it's something for me. That's how I got into the discipline. And yeah, I think the discipline is growing a lot, and especially with the World Cup in Ireland, I think the community for it is growing as well. It's a really, really big event in Ireland, and especially with the German riders, with Simon Gegenheimer and Marion Fromberger, we have a lot of strong German riders. So I think also the fan base is growing a lot because we have those good riders. And yeah, I can only advise everyone who lives in Germany or close to Germany to go check out the World Cup in Ireland. It's such a big cycling event, and I really enjoy seeing such a big cycling event with so many fans. It's just a great experience for everyone, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, it's certainly like watching it on YouTube, like the crowd seemed so intense compared to, I guess, what I'm trying to compare it to, last year, either probably Udenada or Loiva, where like it was raining, so there wasn't many people actually there, and Sakurai was out of town. So again, there's not a lot of people there. The crowds at Ireland looked incredible, and how motivated were you for Ireland? I know you were coming back from your injury, and it's like 6 weeks after Loiva, so you know, could that have been difficult, in terms of performance? Like, yeah, just how motivated were you when you see that level of crowd in your
Yeah.
home country?
So for me, I was so excited for it. When I planned the season, it was sure for me that Ireland will be one of my biggest highlights this year. So the motivation was really, really high to perform on my best level. Um, that sadly didn't quite work out with my injury, so that was, yeah, a bit frustrating, to be honest. But the motivation was really, really high because it was my first World Cup on home soil. I've traveled so far last year. I've been to India, Indonesia, and to Turkey and Belgium, and then having a World Cup on home soil, it's incredible. And also with my family at the racetrack, it's just it meant so much to me. So yeah, the excitement was just very, very big.
Yeah, and you mentioned family, and I kind of know the answer to this anyway, but like family takes an extra level of importance for you, with the fact that your dad's your coach. Like, how does that work? Are you able to keep your kind of private and quote unquote work cycling life separate? Like, how does that function for you?
Yeah, we try to keep it separate, but of course, yeah, it's not always easy to keep it separate, and yeah, often you mix those two together. But yeah, it works very well for me. He's been my coach for a long, long time already, and he just knows me so well. He knows how I react to certain trainings, and he knows what's good for me because he's been working with me for such a long time already. So yeah, it's really a nice thing to have, but for sure, yeah, if I'm honest, it's not always easy. I think it's normal. You have highs and lows, and it's normal as an athlete that sometimes it's easier and sometimes not so much. And yeah, sometimes it's a bit more complicated, but he's been there for me my whole life, and pretty much all I know about cycling, I know because of him. And he's also the reason, or he's the one who helped me through all my injuries in the past. So he's the reason why I'm still here, why I'm still cycling. He motivates me, he helps me, and he supports me so much. So it was really yeah, new to me and weird to me last year to go to my first races on my own because he's always been there for me and he's
Hmm.
been at every single race. So yeah, last year and especially this year, going to most of the races on my own, it's yeah, pretty new to me.
Yeah, of course. And how you mentioned, the role that he's played in helping you with injuries. Um, how easy do you find it to come back from injuries? Are you someone who's quite patient as well and lets it heal, or do you just go like, I want to be riding already? Like, you know, you hear of riders who break their collarbone and they're on the rollers the next day, kind of thing. Like, where are you on that scale?
Yeah, um, well, I think if you look at the injuries I had like a few years ago, it was not easy for me. But this year I have my psychologist and I'm doing really, really well. So this year I think I was back on the bike like 3 or 4 days afterwards. I was not allowed to go right outside because I couldn't hold my handlebar because both of my shoulders were injured and I had a partially fractured rib. So yeah, I just could sit on the rollers, but I was very impatient this year. Very, very impatient. um, yeah, I just couldn't wait to get back on track, and especially because I knew there was not much time till the next World Cup, to the home World Cup in Ireland. So this year I was very impatient, and I really, really worked hard to come back as soon as possible.
Yeah, and to me, that hard work has shown through the year, like comparing how you raced in Ireland to, not in Ireland, sorry, to Sakurai versus Udenada. Like the difference in your level, like how close you get to qualifying, past the heats. You seem to be able to hold the wheels a lot longer than, as I said, than Sakurai. Um, do you see that progress yourself? And where do you see, well, yeah, where do you see your limit being? Do you see a limit?
Yeah, so I definitely see the progress. I'm happy with the progress I made so far, and I'm also a little bit proud of it. um,
No, you should be.
yeah. Yeah, I'm really happy with how the season went so far, but for sure, I think I'm someone who always is very hard to herself. So I always want more, and I try to push my limit even further. And yeah, I like the topic of being proud of yourself. I often be like, oh yeah, that was nice, but maybe that and here, and I could improve here. So yeah, I definitely want to improve further. I want to make more progress, and I can't wait for the remaining races, and try to, yeah, just keep on working and keep on going in that process. And I think I definitely did not reach my limit so far. Of course, I'm always giving 120%, but I know that I can still continue making progress. I think for me, something I can really improve on is just the experience. I'm still new to the discipline, so there are a lot of things that are new to me and things I'm not used to. So I think I still have a long way and a bright future in front of me, and I will just keep on working and see how far I can go, and we will see, yeah, how it goes and what I'm capable of.
Yeah, and I know you said you're new to the discipline, but I noticed at the gravel Euros there was one of your, I guess, colleagues, fellow Eliminator riders in, I can't even remember her name properly. Is it Melly Sivel, the Estonian
Yeah.
rider? She was on the start line. I was like, oh, that's really cool because that's a name I recognize. Are there any thoughts of mixing it up and doing other disciplines? I know Elodie does. She does mountain bike marathon, which is two extreme ends of the spectrum. Um,
Yeah.
Gaia does World Cups on XCO as well as, she does stuff on the road. Like, is that something you thought of, or do you just want to specialize in Eliminator for now? Um, yeah, where's your future heading?
Yeah, so I really just want to focus on Eliminator riding. Yeah, I just enjoy it the most. And I think I still have to gain more experience. So if I focus on one thing, that's how at least I can improve the most. So I just really want to focus on that discipline and yeah, make the most out of it. But yeah, it's impressive. Sometimes I wonder how the other riders are able to do all of that. It's really impressive to ride in two disciplines, and then also to see Elodie like doing it so well and two extreme disciplines, a long distance and a short distance discipline. That's really impressive. So I have a lot of respect for that. But yeah, I think for me, with yeah, just growing and still learning a lot, I just want to focus on one discipline. I think sometimes I also have to even remind myself I'm still 19 years old. I'm one of the youngest riders in the yeah in the category. So yeah, I will take it step by step, and for now, just eliminator riding.
Yeah, that makes sense. And looking forward to the end of this season. We've got Worlds, we've also got the Euros in Turkey. Um, Firstly, how are you feeling about both of those? And secondly, have you got your kit yet? Because I know that's a big moment for any rider to get that national kit.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to the next two races. I'm feeling good. Yeah, I can't wait to show what I'm capable of, and I can't wait to, yeah, keep on working and keep on improving myself. And it's just always, yeah, a very big thing and a nice thing, especially with the national kit. I received it already and I tried it on, and it's just, yeah, it's just a special feeling, something very unique. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to wear the kit and show it, and I can't wait to represent Germany. Yeah, always very, very special.
Oh, awesome. Um, yeah, shall we talk quickly about Euros? How are you feeling about that race? Because that's they're going back to Sakuraya, but it's a completely different course. It's going to be in the city centre, rather than the kind of, I guess, that sports village where they've got the that grandstand near the field that they use for the World Cup. So, how are you feeling about going back there?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how the new course looks like. Nobody rode on it so far, so it's something new for everyone. Yeah, I can't wait to see how it looks like, and I can't wait to, yeah, try it out and do a course recon. So yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling ready for it, and it will be, yeah, very, very interesting. Just with everything being new, equal chances for everyone, I
Yeah,
would
of
say.
course. And does it change the dynamic anything? Like because it's European and not worlds, like although a lot of the top riders are European, there's still people like Marcela and Alina Simos who, you know, she's been she's amazing at qualifying and she's learning racecraft, it seems. Um yeah, Marcela was top five of the World Cup overall last year. You know, there's a lot of good riders who are not European. So does it change the dynamic at all, or do you think it's just business as usual?
I think it's kind of business as usual, but for sure a different dynamic. It's a championship, it's a jersey to fight for, it's a title to fight for. So, of course, it's gonna be a different atmosphere. Um, yeah, we have some of the top riders from Brazil, or yeah, just a lot of countries not from Europe. So there will be some of the top riders missing, but still there's so many talented, strong European riders. So I think it will be a very intense and yeah, challenging race. Yeah.
Wow. Um, so yeah, final word. I guess what are your hopes for the world? I can't remember if we even asked that, but just as a nice way to finish, yeah, what are your hopes for racing in Indonesia?
Yeah, so I'm not one of the big favorites. So my goal is just to, yeah, just to be on a good level, to show a good performance, show the best I can, show what I'm capable of, and yeah, just trying to be the best version of myself and do the best I can. So that's my goal, and yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Well, I wish you all success. Um, fingers crossed, all the good luck wishes possible to send your way. Um, and I'm very excited to be able to watch it and see how you get on.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, there you go. Hopefully you learnt a lot and enjoyed listening along. As you can see, the sort of person she is, she's so generous with her time. We've had to do several recordings, one which even failed. So yeah, um, it's just nice to catch up with her, and I wish her all the best for the Worlds.